What a crazy 24 to 48 hours. We have DC not wanting to let the pardons pass through. We have lawsuits happening on Trump. We have the fact that Klaus Schwab and World Economic Forum is meeting this week. Actually, Trump is supposed to go speak, and it's blowing their mind because they're in full panic mode of what he's trying to do. JP Morgan was at this event, and they said, we're working 24 hours effortlessly to try to figure out the deregulation, the new regulation, and trying to figure out what the status quo is for Trump. But she did say something that's very surprising that we're going to talk about. Also, we're going to talk about a Black Hawk helicopter flying over one of our major cities. What was it doing in the cities? That's not something that we would traditionally see flying in our cities. We'll dive into those things. And also, there was a report that a mysterious bank account by the Bidens has just appeared. I wonder if this is why they all got pardons. We'll talk about that today. Let's jump into these stories and a few more. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to The Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of today's video. Now, let's jump into these crazy stories, some good, some a little alarming, but also we can learn from them to say, okay, how can we do better? First, let's go to some of the controversies. You know, Trump pardoned 1,500 J6ers. Most of them were let out. There was a new report that said that President Trump issued sweeping pardons for individuals involved in J6 Capitol riots, leading to immediate release of some, while others remain detained in Washington, D.C. amidst claims of bureaucratic resistance. The move has sparked controversy with criticism from Republicans that law enforcement are not adhering to the pardons and they are holding people basically in jail that should not be there. Now, this is the same jail that allegedly had beatings of some of these people, allegedly took them to the hospital because of some of the things they had done to them, and now they're not letting them out. They're detaining them and going against a defiance of the president and the pardons. Isn't that amazing how we have one president that pardons his whole family and all these preemptive pardons, and we have another one that's actually pardoning people that shouldn't be in jail and they're getting held in jail. Now remember, let's go back. Biden pardoned opened criminals who kill police and who abuse children. Literally, go back and look. Let them out with no problem. But these people are being held in Muriel Bowser's jail in D.C. all because they're trying to defy Trump. This needs to be a major problem, and this should cause an uprising. There should be another huge amount of people going and protesting this jail because that is an absolute wrong assessment. I mean, this guy all these people just got pardoned. We talked about Ross Ulbright yesterday. He also got pardoned yesterday, which was a good thing. Now, with some of these steps that Trump's doing, of course, there's more lawsuits now that's coming against him and Elon Musk and all the rest of them. Isn't it amazing how people who are trying to save your money, trying to save our dollars, who are not taking salaries, are the ones that the bureaucrats who is taking your money, who has lived in Washington, and who has basically lived off your money and not done anything for solutions to all the problems we have. They're now trying to sue Trump, Elon, and the rest of these people that are trying to fix our government. Trump came out and he's firing like crazy. He's firing all the DEI representation throughout the federal government. He also fired several people at DHS, just eye-whopping moves. And what he was saying was, look, we don't have the funds for it. You're gone. We're changing and cleaning house. You're gone. He fired a Coast Guard lady who was wanting DEI to be spread throughout the Coast Guard. Gone. She's out. This is what change looks like. But with this change and with this, what we consider like a manifest destiny, what's actually happening is they're going to try to do all they can to push back. And Trump needs to keep pushing on because he is, again, promises made, promises kept. He's done a lot of things already compared to what the bureaucracy wants him to do. And to be honest with you, that's why they're up in arms. Now, that leads us right to the next story with Klaus Schwab. Listen to this. Now, you know Davos is kicked off and World Economic Forum is getting started. Trump is actually supposed to speak. I'm actually kind of curious of how that's going to be taken because he's so American first and pushing that all these countries should not be doing what they're doing for this global push. So I'm anxious to see what it says. But this is a new article. It says Klaus Schwab is in full panic mode. Short-term pressure. What does Klaus Schwab really mean? Is he referring to the return of Trump and unraveling in a globalist agenda? Basically, what he's saying is we need to not allow Trump to change and ignite some passion that pushes against what their agendas are. At Davos, Schwab's tone was desperate, like a man watching his carefully constructed house of cards collapse. I thought that was a good writing there by this author. The globalist elite have enjoyed years of unchecked power and pushing for policies and controls, surveillance, and suppression. Now, remember, I talked to you yesterday about how the WHO, their funders, is who they supported the most in their initiatives. Like Bill Gates was one of the biggest funders of the WHO, so every time he had something that he wanted to do across the world and a global health push, the WHO just backed it. Well, the same thing happens with this agenda here, is that the more money that flows in, the more power they get, the more they're able to do what they want to do with no checks and balances. And so what they're saying is Trump could cause problems for their initiatives and their agendas. I think that's a great thing. Makes me even like him even more. But now with Trump back in the White House, the grip is loosening. There's reports that he is upset that Trump is back in. The Great Awakening is here, and people across the globe are rising up against this agenda. Klaus isn't addressing just something that he wanted change. Remember, he wanted this new world. He wanted a new world where he was over it. And Trump is starting to dismantle that, along with Argentina dismantling that, El Salvador dismantling that. What you're seeing is people are starting to wake up, and it's actually destroying the WEF, and I love it. The people are taking their power back. No more global overreach. No more silencing the dissent. A new era has begun. And I think that's what Trump is going to say. Of course, he's going to be nice and cordial, but I believe he's going to push the fact that this global movement that you all want is no longer going to take place, especially in America. It's kind of like the J6 things. They're not releasing them. That's going to cause a problem for the Democrats. They better not play around with that, because Trump could then turn around and push the cards back on Biden and his pardons and take over Fauci, Milley, and all the rest. They better release them. No matter what they say, they better release them, because I believe you're going to see a crazy pushback on Democrats. And I believe Democrats that are already reeling and don't know who they are anymore, they're going to feel a pressure like they've never felt. Legacy media has no leg to stand on anymore. They're losing viewers. CNN, they said, has lost over $300 million in share value in the last 2 to 3 years. That's what true change looks like. JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and all these big bankers, of course, were at Davos, and one of them had a good report I thought was very eye-opening. They were at Davos, and JP Morgan had a report that says they have launched a Trump war room to dissect what the 47th president and his policies are doing as he re-enters office. Mary Erdos, a top executive, revealed at Davos that the bank is pulling all-nighters to assess what Trump is doing next. Now, she did say this. She said, I praise Trump because he has a pro-business agenda. So now you're hearing some of these bankers who had all this regulation, all these problems. Now they're saying, well, what we're seeing, even though we thought he was a bad guy, actually what he's doing is actually opening more avenues for business to grow. Trump had a $500 billion infrastructure bill that he talked about last night that's going to provide a lot of jobs. He did that with AI tech and executives. Now, I'm not a big Larry Ellison fan. I'm not a big Sam Altman fan. Personally, I don't like AI. It kind of scares me a little bit. But I do understand what he's saying. He's saying, look, if we have it unchecked, AI could rule the world. And then I love the fact that he said, so if we're going to see AI take over the world, then why don't we make sure that America has a good grasp? Because what we don't want to see is this technology go to China, Russia, or any other superpower, and they have unchecked power over America. So I thought that was a good move. Even though I'm against AI, I think it's the time we live in. And I believe that people are going to use it for bad things, and people can use it for innovation. So we better be on the cusp of the top end to make sure that we're getting things done. So I did like the fact that he introduced that. I do hope that government's hand is not tied in AI. I think that could be dangerous. I hope that businesses have checks and balances when it comes to AI, because it scares me to death to know that someone could easily surveil every aspect of our lives. And remember, ChatGPT, who was their leader, basically the one that started OpenAI, Sam Altman, he's part of this group. When they built a new Chat GPT, a new version, the old version was trying to make sure it did not get taken out of existence, so it started writing its own code to be upgraded and updated. So you've built this living AI that ultimately did not want to be destroyed, so it started building its own self again. That's scary. Now, that's not what the video is about, but that's something to think about. But JP Morgan, go back to that story, she said that we're excited to see what Trump is doing with pro-business. However, because there's so many changes compared to the regulatory and also the policies that Biden had, where all of a sudden they're getting reduced and changed, we have got a 24-hour war room going on trying to make sure that we are ready for these new policies. So that could be a good thing because they're seeing a pro-business move. Could we see, again, the signs of a golden age? Now, Colby, all that sounds good. It does. It sounds really good. Now let's just get back to honesty, though. There's people in the world that does not like America, and they're going to do all they can to stop Trump, and that's including some of our own leaders. But I want you to listen to this. This was shared by Wall Street Bates, and this was actually a story from James O'Keefe. It says, there are planned attacks possibly coming. I was out with James O'Keefe in California's desert, is what this guy was quoting. He said they found an unlocked Syrian phone. They gave the phone to the military friend and found a terror cell that was communicating, trying to get into San Diego as quickly as possible. He was saying that there is a danger because there is a play right now to get into these cities of maybe sleeper cells that were already here. Remember, we talked just a few days ago about a warning from FBI saying that there are sleeper cells already here and they could be activated anytime. They said there was 10 major cities. Now, it's weird that all of a sudden they come out with this and say, look, they're not stopping their movement to try to take over. Now, Trump is strong, and I think Trump would annihilate compared to Biden when it comes to taking care of terrorists. But this is serious because there's still people here that were let in that shouldn't have been let in, and now we've got to deal with them. Is it weird that we have a Syrian phone along with communications of how to get into San Diego with basically a chance to cause mischief and problems there? Trying to communicate with known terror cells they uncovered. Now, this goes along with the fact that the other day they busted, listen now, go back and look. It was like hundreds of thousands of rounds of munitions in a shelter. And some paraphernalia and trafficking of drugs. So that's what's been found in some of these shelters in California. You don't believe that what would a shelter and someone coming across the border that Biden let across need it was like, I think it was 100, 200,000 rounds of munitions. I wonder what he was doing with that. You tell me. So you don't believe that there could be some major problems coming still for American cities especially? I mean, look, there's a new fire starting off in San Diego. You talk about panic and problems. I mean, California's burning, and then all of a sudden there may be some terror cells that are starting to activate, and they're trying to find a way to get into San Diego quicker, just as soon as possible. That's what this report said from the Syrian communications that was trying to talk to a terror cell that was located in San Diego. That's a crazy report. And now this goes back to where you see Tom Homan saying that he will start taking people out of the country. It was an Ice Black Hawk helicopter flying over Houston last night. It was seen. Now, remember, they could be helping with a lot of things, but usually, I mean, they had a little snow in Houston. Don't get me wrong, we all had snow, but the thing is, you typically don't see Black Hawk helicopters flying unless it's a disaster situation or they're working for immigration. Just like I said, ICE helicopter. So one good thing is, as you start seeing some of these as soon as possibles and these terror cells are trying to get more communications, I'm hoping that our government, since they can tell you, since they can see a deposit on your phone, on my phone, and they can, suppress my information and take my freedoms away from getting on social media or whatever it may be, I hope that they have the technology to see that communication that was just taking place, and not only Tom Homan getting people that shouldn't be here out that came in illegally, but also the terror cells. Remember, part of getting people out of the country is because the people that come in the country, some of them were not just looking for a better home. That's all you heard from Democrats. Some of these were trying to cause us harm. A prime example of what James O'Keefe just said. So what I'm hoping is these Black Hawk helicopters are not just looking for people who are breaking the law by being here illegally. They're looking for also these cities that are having major problems with a chance of terror cells. You couldn't pay me to live in these big cities now, but I'm hoping that these kind of things gets found out, busted quick, and get them sent back to the countries they once were. They should not be in America, and this is where I think you're going to see some major blowback, because what you're going to see is Trump pushing hard to get these people out, and two things are going to happen. It's like a lose-lose for Trump. It's either going to look bad on him because they're going to find some crying woman or some crying baby going back across the border, when really what they're doing is they're getting criminals away from your families. But they're going to try to use, the media's going to try to use that as well, we can't take all these people out of here. Or you're going to see an attack on one of our cities, and they're going to blame Trump for not getting the people out of here. I mean, I'm serious. That's what's going to happen. So I'm praying and hoping that they stay strong and they start doing what they're supposed to do. And before it becomes a major issue, before you see these munitions be used, before you see these terror cells activated, we get them out of here. It's unbelievable. Now let's wrap up. There's a report from, and this was shared by Josh Dunlap, and this was shared by Comer, and Fox News brought it up, but it said, there is a new bank account belonging to the Biden family that has been recently found that is receiving laundered money from China, Romania, Russia, while Biden was VP. Now you wonder why those pardons went back to 2014? Think back. That's when the Ukraine situation happened. What did I tell you about Romania? Keep your eyes on Romania, because there's some nefarious things happening just like it happened in Ukraine. Not only that, money from China and Russia, with over $240,000 of checks directly wired to Biden with no explanation. That's what one of these reports found. This is why I can't stand Republican congressmen, because people like Comer, Jordan, and all them, I bet you money they knew a lot of this, and now it's all of a sudden starting to come out. This is why Congress, to me, is not the answer. That's why we have to have a leader like Trump, because Congress kicks things down the road, and they're like, oh, well, now we found that $240,000 was coming in from Russia, China, Romania, Ukraine, but they're all pardoned now, so I guess we can't do nothing about it. See, that's how Congress works, and it makes me sick. So this is all alleged, but this was a report that came out showing that there was hidden money coming to them. Well, that kind of explains the preemptive pardons, doesn't it? So the more truth that comes out, they're just saying, well, it doesn't matter because it was 2014 and after. This is where Congress should have already taken care of some of this stuff 4 years ago. But no. Because most congressmen do not have the brass and the backbone to do anything, this is what they do. They start leaking this kind of stuff now, after it doesn't really matter. But this shows, to me more than anything, how our politicians are bought out. And you wonder why we have the problems we have. Is because the politicians are so much worried about their own money than they are taking care of Americans. We're going to end with this, and I thought this was huge. Matt Gaetz, everybody hated Matt Gaetz when it comes to Congress. I want you to listen to what he just told Charlie Kirk and also some more reporters. It says Matt Gaetz exposes lobbyists who buy Congress, and this is where I believe lobbyists should be thrown out. And just like Biden's situation, the more money that flows into these people, the more they're going to be sold out to their cause. Listen to this. It says, in the morning, they hand thousands of dollars in cash to vote the way that they want them to vote for legislation. That means that bypasses campaign finance laws, and they're hiring people to otherwise be unemployable to family members, meaning they're giving more money to them and to their family members to make sure they're voting the way they want to vote. And most of the time, he said, it's loophole cash, so they don't have to report it. It says the number of spouses and children and members of Congress who became lobbyists are astonishing. Actually, first-hand knowledge, I know of a congressman and his wife, and both of them, along with one of their children, all are now lobbyists or tied to lobbyists or did some lobbying after he was out of office. I'm going to keep on going, and that is the truth. Word was he made so much money doing that there was no point in him coming back to the state that he was in, because he has got a gravy train in what he's doing now. That was words from him. Now listen, it says, lobbyists are in the halls of Congress daily, and they work the halls throughout the day to staff members who hopes to become a lobbyist one day. Everybody inspires to be a lobbyist, including the staff, the pages, and the congressman themselves, because they know it is lucrative and a lot of influence ties to it. And then he brought up this. He said, Senator Richard Burr from North Carolina, his wife and son all became lobbyists, and he was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. So while he was the Intelligence Committee chair, his wife and son were lobbyists. And Matt Gates ends with this. He said, do you think that they had special persuasion skills? And was that just a family relationship? Or was there more to it? Look at what Richard Burr's worth now. That's why most of these congressmen and these senators who make $200,000 or $300,000, $400,000 a year, oh, that's a lot of money. It is. Tons of money. But they end up now being worth $50 to $150 to $550 million. Some worth close to almost $1 billion. They didn't get that from working for you. They got that because of the pay to play, the back doors. Biden family's no different. That's why they got the pardons. This is the kind of stuff that I wish Matt Gaetz would have become AG for. No matter what his past says, he was willing to expose some of this, and that's why I think they took him out. Guys, pay attention to these stories. Great things are happening. But as I said, while the great things are happening, it shows how deceitful and how swampy DC is and how dangerous our cities have become because of the policies of this last administration. Trump has an uphill battle, and I hope he's ready for the fight. So far, so good. It's done great the last 2 or 3 days. But if he keeps this momentum, we could actually see an America like we're supposed to see. If we don't, then we're going to see status quo, and the swamp is going to get deeper and nastier and grosser. Let me know your thoughts on this video. God bless.